Good day, family. It's a wonderful privilege for me to welcome you to the session we're having with Moving Dot. And I'd like to introduce you to Zamani Ndlovu and Cray Matthias. And they are the two gentlemen that are going to be telling us about Moving Dot. So don't move your eyes off the screen because the dot might disappear. But I'm hoping that you will understand exactly what Moving Dot is and what they do and what services they offer to us as independent schools. So welcome, Zamani, and welcome, Cray. Please tell us about yourself and about Moving Dot. We're very interested.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Right. Moving Dot is a company formed by Zamani and Cray. We are both directors at Moving Dot. I'm more into training. He's more into business development. But the company formed in 2014. So it's been running for 10 years now. Right. The company is focusing mostly on school safety. The idea is based on Zamani's passion, and because we're former educators, it was an issue of saying, let's bridge a gap between the situation in class and outside the class. So the company formed in South Africa, but is very active in the southern SADC region. So for more information, maybe we'll have Zamani talk more about his passion and how Moving Dot came about.
Thank you. Over to you, Zamani.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. He has asked me to talk about my passion. Like he said, I'm a former educator as well. And I'm also a pastor. My focus has always been on children's church, dealing with the young people. Some time ago, I was trained by a company called the Center for Justice and Crime Prevention, which is an organization which did a study on the national school violence study in South Africa. And has done a lot of work in Mozambique. We had some footprints in Botswana. We had some footprint in Namibia, dealing with issues of criminal justice, but mainly focusing on what is happening in the schools. After that, I joined an organization called Young in Prison that I left when we formed Moving Dot. It was an organization that worked with young people who are in prison, as the name suggests, young in prison. So what really happened is that those two organizations, due to funding, they went out of practice. And then it left a huge gap in South Africa because I was working with schools. I was seeing what was happening in the schools. I decided to bridge that gap. That was the birth of Moving Dot. So what then happens is that I am bringing the experience of working with the Center for Justice and Crime Prevention, looking at school safety policies, making schools safe and safe for the teachers and for the learners as well. They're bringing in the parental component in to make sure that our schools are safe institutions. And then again, dealing with the young people who are in conflict with the law, the young people that we are failing to deal with in the schools, people who are affected by gangsterism, young people who are affected by issues of drugs, young people who are affected by issues of violence in the community. Then they find their way in our schools and the educators don't really know what to do with it. So Moving Dot was born to bridge that gap. So that has always been my passion, to educate and make sure that the learning environment is a safe space for everyone.
Yes. Oh, that's very interesting. So what range of services do you offer to schools in Southern Africa?
Thank you so much. Cray will take that one.
Thank you, Zamani. So in light of the fact that Zamani touched on learners, educators, and parents, so we came up with the products that are accredited. Firstly, it was with ACSI here in South Africa. But then we realized that there was no unit standard that would focus or capture the need for school safety. So then we registered 8 programs with a professional body that allows our attendees to gain continuous professional development points. So the programs that we are offering in South Africa and in the whole of SADC is the National School Safety Framework. This is the framework that actually predetermines how safety is supposed to be run in the schools. This was a birth or a product or a byproduct of the different years that Zamani spent in different organizations, where the South African government said, come up with a tool that will help the communities to identify and be able to observe and then be able to say, what can we do so as to mitigate school violence? Then as an offshoot of the NSSF, which is the National School Safety Framework, we offer an anti-bullying program because we realize that learners, though technically being a product of the community, they come and manifest the traits of the community within the schools. So they bully each other, whether face-to-face bullying, whether cyber bullying, and there's sexual orientations have changed in the world. There's also now a tendency to focus on what homophobic bullying. And then a third program that we offered up was to try and create a bridge between the schools and parents, which is the one that looks at the role of parents in schools, right? In schools, you've got SGBs. So the question is, they're supposed to be committees that are run that link the school and parents. So that's the third program. Then a fourth program that we offer has to do with understanding spirituality in the schools. There's been a trend in the past years where communities have moved to better understand traditional religions, and these religions come with the learners into the school. But at the same time, you find that there's a conflict between Christianity and different other religions, and now we have to create a unique, a balanced platform as to say, how do learners and educators manage religious issues in the schools? And then we move on, and then we say we want to look at peer mediation. Peer mediation as a tool to empower learners to be able to say, we are here together, various different backgrounds. How then do we manage or create relations where we can peer manage or peer positively influence each other to say, what is the best way to relate to each other when we've got a challenge or when we've got a difference? And then we move on, and then we say, after peer mediation, let's come up with a longer program that is supposed to give people that might be running schools, either at school level, at district level, at provincial level and national level, to be able to say, how can we come together as different stakeholders and better understand how we create policies, and at the same time, how we can understand what is happening at school level and be better able to manage or to better able to positively influence that. So we've got a different brochure of programs that start from a school level that are offered to school representative councils or your prefects in different setups, educators, school safety coordinators, school safety management teams, principals, vice principals, parents, and ultimately coming out of the school fence to look at school managers or political school managers or interdisciplinary stakeholders. That's what we've tried to come up with to better manage school safety. Then we've got a tendency that has come up, or a trend of drugs in the schools and in the communities. So now we have come up with a program that is supposed to equip people that manage schools, starting from RCLs, coming to educators, coming to school management teams, to be better to understand what drugs of abuse are, to identify the signs and symptoms, and then to say, what do we do so as to help learners? The program is not punitive, but it's supposed to identify and assist learners by either testing them in school, identifying what type of drug of abuse they're using, and then refer them for counseling to important or related stakeholders. So those are the programs that we offer.
Wow, that is such a wide spectrum. So I picked up on one of your comments, I think, on your fourth service, and that is dealing with religion. So as you know, ACSI is a group of Christian schools, and we admit learners through different admission policies. If you were to visit a Christian school, what will your stance be, and how would you assist a Christian school in upholding what we believe?
I'll take that one. When we come to Christian schools are better because they already have sound policies in place where they make it clear to the parent to say, when you bring your child here, they dance to the tune, and our policies stand. There isn't much work that can be done there, but to alert the schools of certain kind of religious activities that might come, because our children come from the community. Sometimes you wake up in your school, you find that there is a certain disturbing issues. For example, we have had issues of hysteria, something like hysteria, learners falling down, screaming, and doing all those sort of things. You find that thing,
manifestations, in other words.
Exactly. Manifestations in the school. So what happens is that what it does sometimes, it as an educator, you need to understand how to deal with it. And the other thing, that my children are children who were born in the Christian in the Christian setup. That's how they were brought. When something like that manifestation happens, we need also to look at how do we explain such things to them. We need to do that, because and again, the other thing, that incident, because I've dealt with many incidents of that nature. Other thing that happens, you find that you need to go through some form of counseling for the learners, because what happens is that they don't understand so the educator, really, we're equipping the educators to understand how to deal with such incidents. And how to record them down, how to take it forward.
Yeah. I know this might be controversial, but this question has come up. How would you assist a school that where witchcraft has been occurring on the premises? Have you had instances where you assisted a school that was aware of witchcraft?
We have, when witchcraft, most cases when witchcraft happens, in the schools, you find that the key people to deal with that mostly is the parents, SGB. Because when you as a school assume a role and you start trying to solve that, you may not understand. Because most of us, when we are teaching, when in places where we teach, we don't live in those communities. So the SGB becomes a big part on dealing with that thing, where we agree as a school to say, this is what is happening, because there are certain instances where there is witchcraft, or there's certain things that are happening in the schools, maybe because the school was built in a shrine, on a shrine. So you find that when you begin to engage the parents, they understand exactly what's going on. We've got instances where a certain, for example, I dealt with the one case in KZN, where there was a tree where we had to cut it down, because on that tree, we had 5 or 6, I think it was 5 people committing suicide on that particular tree. They would wake up early in the morning and somebody's hanging on that tree. So we had to deal with that, but mainly when you are dealing with that, especially cases of witchcraft, it's the parents, because when as a school you become active, and you, for example, if it's let's say it's a government school, I'm there and there's a challenge, then what do? I cast the demon out of the young person. What happens? We had a case where the parents came back to say, the thing that you cast out of our child was not actually a demon. It was an ancestor. We need that ancestor back on the child. So you, as a school, you must come as a principal, pay money to appease the ancestors. You have to bring a cow, and you must be there to apologize to the ancestors so that the spirit comes back. So those are the things that we need to, when we deal with, especially the Christian schools are better. It's better because they have policies. But in where we deal with government schools, we handle such issues.
So ignorance in a way is bliss, and you are positioned to educate our principals on these kinds of matters and also offer real-time solutions on how to deal with cases of this nature. So if a school is interested, what would their next steps be?
They contact us, and then we come and assess the school, because sometimes what you see, we have got what we call a school mapping exercise. That helps us to provide tailor-made services for your particular school. We don't bring a sort of a cookie cutter model. We come to your
Sorry, your sound is breaking up. Just say that last sentence again.
school, we do a school safe mapping, because sometimes I was saying we don't offer a cookie cutter model.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes.
I was saying we don't offer a cookie cutter model. We come to your school, we do what is called a school mapping exercise. And then that one helps us to unearth certain things. Because sometimes you go to a school, people say, here we've got a problem with drugs. But when you get into the school, you find that the problem that they're having is not of drugs, actually. They've got a problem of access control. You deal with access control, you have dealt with drugs.
Okay.
So we need to go to the school. They contact us, they tell us, they invite us, we come and do this exercise, and then we work out from there.
So you assist the school by discerning and looking deeper than what is the obvious.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
lovely.
Yes.
And tell me your future. How do you see moving into the future of the educational landscape?
Moving dot is, if I may say, we are at the time where we are flying.
Yes.
Why? Because the nations are waking up to this subject called school safety. Because at the present moment, we are the only ones who are offering that something called school safety. We've made it a subject, school safety. So what's happening is that the schools are being hit by many things that they don't understand. For example, the unprecedented levels of drugs in the school, the violence bringing in of drugs, mass shootings are, by the way, if nothing is done, mass shootings are going to come into the school, the issues of the religious issues. We are now getting people, when we hold our workshops, we're now getting people opening up people's minds. And I do some presentations in churches as well. Then when you speak, you find that parents begin to understand that, no, this thing is bigger than what we thought it was. And unless it's addressed, it will sink the schools. Again, the other thing that is happening is that the low levels of academic achievement. If the schools are not made safe, we won't achieve what we're dealing with.
Okay. So the proverbial can of worms, what you are busy opening up. So a last thought from my side, if a school would be interested, do you have a website that they can visit, or how can they contact you?
Okay, great.
Right, thank you for that question. Right, we've got a website, www.movingdot.co.za. We've got an email address, info@movingdot.0766993848. That's for Cray. Then 078-801-5502. That's for Zamani.